In today's fast-paced environment, it's so common to feel like you just don't have enough time to get things done. And when you look at the health and wellness space and you're overloaded with all the information on the latest health trend, what to do and what not to do, it can feel very overwhelming to try and use the little tiny bit of time you have left in your day to figure out even where to start. That is why I created the Minimum Viable Health and Wellness Plan, the MVP Health and Wellness Plan. So even the busiest of people can actually focus on the fundamentals of health and wellness and progress to a more balanced lifestyle. So that's exactly what I'm going to share with you in this video. So if you're overwhelmed by health and wellness, or you feel like you never have time to prioritize it, then this video is for you. All right, so before we dive into the MVP plan, we first need to understand how you build sustainable habits. And the perfect person to teach us about this is James Clear. James Clear is a best-selling author of Atomic Habits. It's a great book. If you haven't read it before, highly recommend it. But I also understand that you're watching this video because you don't have a lot of time. So I'm just going to give you guys a rundown of his framework in 4 steps to building sustainable habits that last. Now, the first step is cue. A cue is the signal that you start the habit. Once that signal goes off, you know it's time to perform the habit. After cue, you have craving. Craving is the desire that's created to experience the positive change that you get from the habit. Now, that's a very complicated way of just saying it drives your motivation to get the result of the habit. Right? Perfect example of that is when you exercise, after you exercise, you feel very accomplished. So that feeling of accomplishment, that's the craving. You're not craving simply doing the exercise, especially if it's grueling, you're craving the feeling of having completed it. After craving, you have response. And response is simply taking action. So it's performing the habit that you've laid out. And then after that, you have reward. Reward is the immediate positive reinforcement that you give yourself after having performed the habit. So perfect example is, okay, I worked out. Now I get to watch 1 episode of Netflix. That's your reward. You're looking forward to that after. So we're going to use this 4-step framework of cue, craving, response, and reward to build our habits in a minimum viable way so that we can tackle all necessary areas of health and wellness. The other concept we're going to leverage from James Clear is this idea of building systems. And he talks about building systems in the form of habit stacking. And that's when you pile a bunch of habits together in a form of routine so that they can be seamlessly done as if they were almost on autopilot. And that's the goal here with our routines too. So we're going to combine habit stacking with his 4-step framework to sustainable habit building to be the foundation of our minimum viable health and wellness plan. Now that we understand how to build sustainable habits, we have a framework for that, it's time to talk about the essential components that we're going to talk about. So what are those pillars that make up health and wellness? Well, if you ask me, I would say it comes down to 4 elements. It comes down to nutrition, exercise, sleep, and mindset. With those 4 areas, you get the gist of health and wellness. And since we're talking MVP, minimum viable product here, that's the focus. What's the best bang for our buck? So when we're talking about nutrition, this is everything from hydration to getting enough nutrients in your foods and fuel. When we're talking about exercise, we're really talking about moving the body, so activity, and so physical activity. Then when we refer to sleep, we're focused on rest and recovery. And then finally, with mindset, we're focused on mindfulness and self-awareness. So we're going to make sure that we're building habits that encompass all of those components so that we cover our basis when it comes to health and wellness. All right, guys, the moment you've been waiting for, it's time to dive into building the minimum viable health and wellness plan. But before we get there, if you're liking this video so far, go ahead and hit that like button and of course that subscribe button too, so you don't miss any of my videos. I post a video every single week helping you guys on your personal development journey by sharing what works for me. So would love to have you guys as part of the community. All right, guys, let's dive into this. So the minimum viable health and wellness plan, or health and wellness MVP, can be boiled down to 3 simple steps. The first step is to set 2 routine blocks. Traditionally speaking, most people, including myself, will pick morning and evening as their 2 time blocks because in the day there's probably a lot going on. For example, if you're working a 9 to 5. So morning and evening are like your protected times, but you might be able to do other times of day or prefer other times of day, and that's completely fine. Set two blocks of time that work for you. They can be any length of time. They can be 5 minutes, they can be 3 hours, they can be anything in between, anything I haven't mentioned as well. The point is they are blocks of time that work best for you. After we have our time blocks, what we're going to do is actually allocate the new habits that you're trying to build to those routines. So the first thing you have to do is you have to go back, rewind this video to where I talked about the components that make up the pillars of health and wellness. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pick 1 or 2 habits that cover those areas so that you can allocate them or you can place them into your routines. Now, only pick the habits that you want to build. This is your MVP, not mine, yours. So if you don't want to exercise in the morning, then don't put exercise in the morning just because that's what I do or that's what other people do. This is for you. So do what works for you. And then the third step is actually applying what I talked about at the beginning of the video, which was building sustainable habits using James Clear's 4-step framework and of course habit stacking. And what we're going to do is you're going to actually break down your habits that you assign to the routines to see, okay, what is the cue here? What's the craving? What's the response? And what's the reward? And that ensures that you have, let's call it a foolproof MVP. All right, so now that we know that, it's time to give you guys an example because you learn best by example. So I'm going to share with you guys a part of my MVP plan, which is my morning routine. I start off the morning waking up at 6 a.m. by an alarm. It's actually a soft alarm that I have on my Fitbit. I don't like to wake up to harsh sounds. It feels like I'm being forced out of bed, but that gradual wake up is a nicer way to wake up. And that is my cue to start my morning routine. Now, right after I get up, then comes the craving. And the craving is from my meditation. My meditation puts me in a headspace that tells me, okay, I'm starting off my day prioritizing myself. I don't have anyone else to worry about. Nobody's going to bother me. It's just about taking care of me. And that's a sensation that I love. So that's the craving. And then the next 3 steps are all response. So the first is after I've done my meditation, I then spend some time drinking some water, journaling, sharing my thoughts, thinking about the day, reflecting on the past day, setting my intentions for the day, like what's my most important task, etc. And then after I've done that, then it's time to work out. I've been up for a while. It's around 6:30, 6:45. Time to hit the gym or do some activity. I like to either hit the gym and do a 45-minute to 60-minute strength training session or go for a bike ride and do some cycling. After that, I come back, I shower, and then I have a nutritious breakfast. And that's also a response. It's giving myself the nutrients it needs, allowing myself to recover, and it's enjoyable, it's tasty, I'm preparing it myself, which feels great. And that's all tied back to that craving of taking care of myself. And then finally, I have the reward, right? The reward at the end of the day is after I've done all that stuff, I just do something for fun that I love to do. And that is making myself a nice cup of coffee, usually some sort of like cappuccino or latte. And I just sit and enjoy my coffee in the morning and listen to just a fun, chill podcast. And that's my morning routine. And so you can see how the MVP framework is in there, right? We have only the habits I need, not anything unnecessary. Everything that's on that list, I genuinely want to do. And that's why it's there. So now that you guys have a practical example of the minimum viable health and wellness plan in practice, let's talk about who this is for and why this works in the first place. So this is for honestly anyone and everyone. If you are busy, pressed for time, you're focused on work, you're focused on school, or you're just trying to get into health and wellness, you're in early days, just get me started. MVP is the way to go. You will grow your health and wellness practice as as time goes on, this is a great starting point and you can build as you go. You don't want to start off, doing a million things and it's not going to last. The goal is balance and sustainability. That's why we start with an MVP. Now, why does this strategy work over everything else that's there on the internet? Other things on the internet probably work, but do you want to spend the time sifting through the millions of content out there to find it? Or do you want to try this and apply something that's going to work to your life? And then as you grow and find other things you like, add that to your health and wellness plan. I don't think I have to answer that question. Now, this works for three main reasons. The first thing is it's simple, right? You have as many habits as you need and as many habits as you want. It's very easy to follow and it's built to last because we have the 4-step framework in there for sustainable habit building, cue, craving, response, reward, and we have habit stacking to optimize. The second reason this works is because it's customizable, right? I add in the habits that I want. I don't do anything I don't want to do. Other people like to go on a morning walk. That's great. But I recognize that I live in Toronto and I know that half the year or a good portion of the year, the weather is not great. And so it doesn't make sense for me to have that on my schedule. Though I do value sunlight. I'm very much on that sun exposure game, thanks to Andrew Huberman. So I do try to get as much sunlight as I can, but I mostly do that in the afternoon because I know I'm not going out in the morning. And then the final reason that this approach works is because it's scalable. As you grow, your routines grow, the number of habits may grow as well. And that allows you to iterate on the MVP. And that's the point, right? Guys, we build MVPs so that they can evolve over time with feedback, right? As you see what works and what doesn't work, so you change it up. Then you have version 1, and you have version 2 until you have a version that works. This is meant just to get you guys started. All right, guys. So just to recap this video, we talked a lot here, but the point of this video was just to get you guys started on your health and wellness journey, to help you guys prioritize your health and wellness no matter your schedule with this simple MVP approach. And it's all about taking James Clear's 4-step sustainable habit framework, as well as his concept of habit stacking, and tying that into the essential pillars of health and wellness so that you can create your own personalized MVP. And so I hope with that, you guys give this a shot. You don't have to let your health and wellness slip away. You can take small steps that actually contribute to lasting, sustainable results and change in your life just by building an MVP. If you guys need help with this and you're wanting to build a more balanced lifestyle and get your health and wellness in check, when you're serious about it, feel free to book a call with me. The link's down in the description and let's talk. All right, guys, that's all I have for you for this week's video. Thanks so much for tuning in and I will catch you guys in the next one.